Okay, Mayor, I will turn it over to you.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's meeting of the Citrus Heights City Council for Thursday, July 22nd, 2001. And with that, I'll call the meeting to order. Madam Clerk, would you please, let's do the flag salute first. Mr. Schaefer, would you lead the flag salute?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, now if you please call the roll.
Councilmember Bruins,
Present.
Councilmember Daniels is absent. Councilmember Schaefer,
Here.
Vice Mayor Middleton,
Present.
Mayor Miller.
Here.
This meeting of the Citrus Heights City Council is cablecast live on Metro Cable 14, the local government affairs channel, on the Comcast Consolidated Communications and AT&T Uverse cable systems. This meeting is closed captioned and live streamed at citrusheights.net. Tonight's meeting replays on Sunday, July 25th at 6 p.m. on Channel 14. This meeting can also be viewed on the city's YouTube channel.
Thank you, Amy. Next is approval of the agenda. Is there a motion?
Move approval.
Move approval.
Okay, sounds unanimous. I'm going to give the motion to Mr. Schaefer. He's here and I heard him first, and then a second by Vice Mayor Middleton. And with that, we need to call the roll.
Councilmember Bruins,
Aye.
Councilmember Daniels is absent. Councilmember Schaefer,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Middleton,
Aye.
Mayor Miller.
Aye. Next item, please.
Next item is presentation number 4, a presentation by the Greater Sacramento Economic Council. I believe Megan Huber is going to be introducing the item. May have had, don't see them on the Zoom.
Well, let's do this if no one objects. Can we move to the next presentation, give them time to reconnect?
Yes, absolutely. We can move to the next presentation. And the next presentation is presentation by SMUD regarding proposed rate changes. And I believe
See Megan now.
we do have the SMUD representatives on to begin their presentation on the proposed rate changes, if you would like to move forward with that item first.
Okay, and then Megan, we'll come right back to you.
And please remember to unmute yourselves.
Yes, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, hi.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. Good evening, City Council members. Thank you for allowing me to speak to you tonight. My name is Alcides Hernandez, Pricing Supervisor at SMUD. I'm joining this evening by a few of my colleagues. Trish Limbo, he's helping us with the presentation, Alex Harrell and Eric Crane. We're here to inform you about a rate change proposal that our board of directors will vote in mid-September. And I want you to provide you an overview of this proposal and let you know that this recommendation has not been approved yet. What we're sharing today is to make sure that we are engaging in this open and transparent process that allows for public input and discussion. So today we will explain the proposal, answer any questions that you may have the best we can. And at the end of the presentation, we will take some notes and feedback that we will report back to our board. So in the interest of time, I'm going to go through the presentation, and if you have questions, we'll be happy to address them toward the end. The next slide, please, Trish. Thank you. Just let me start telling you a little bit about SMAT. Some of you are very well familiar that SMAT is the local electric utility, and that we have been a community-owned, not-for-profit company for over 70 years. Just like the city council, our governing body is a 7-member elected board of directors who live in the wards that they serve, and they are interested in the public's feedback on this proposal. I want to quickly note a few things, that we are one of the lowest utility rates. Our company has those in California. We're also one of the cleanest utilities in the nation, and we are committed to eliminate 100% of greenhouse gases emissions from our power supply by 2030. This is a very ambitious goal that we have. You can learn more about that at our page, cleanpowercity.org. The next slide, please, Trish. Let me cover briefly the 3 main proposed changes that we're bringing before our board. The first is the rate increase for all our customers in year 2022 and 2023. Next is a new solar and storage rate for customers who generate energy and or store energy. And finally, we're proposing a new optional rate. We call it for now critical peak pricing rate. And I will go in the details of this through this presentation. Next slide, please, Trish. So first, what are these changes needed? We need to make these changes because we need to continue to deliver safe, reliable, clean, and affordable energy solutions. We're also continuing to update our pricing to better align rates with costs to supply energy, support new technologies, invest in environmental initiatives, and ultimately better serve our region. So we're also encouraging the adoption of things like solar, battery storage, electric vehicles, and other electrification efforts to benefit our reliability and clean energy future for all our customers. So SMART rates and programs are designed to be community focused and offer customers a choice. Thanks, Trish. This part of the presentation is about the rate increases, and I want to be sure that we are transparent about why we are requesting these rate increases. And again, we're committed to keeping future rate changes at or below the forecasted rate of inflation. This slide provides you an overview of what we're recommending to the board. First, we're proposing a rate increase of 1.5% effective on March 1 of 2022, and an additional 2.0% effective on January 1 of 2023. With these 2 increases are in alignment with our commitment to keep future rate changes at or below the rate of inflation. And this translates, just to give you an illustration, about to $1.91 increase over an average residential customer bill in year 2022, and another $2.57 per month in year 2023. This chart also illustrates what you will see an average rate increase for in small business customers. There are more details in our rate recommendation and information on the website. Customers on our low-income energy assistance program rate and medical equipment discount rate will see a slightly different bill impacts compared to the ones that do not receive those benefits. The next slide, please, Trish. Thank you. The proposed adjustments, just to let you know, are needed because, like many businesses, the cost for SMART to provide service is going up due to several factors, including wildfire prevention and mitigation. You probably heard about that all across the state. Infrastructure improvements to maintain high reliability, clean energy compliance requirements, increased operating costs, including materials and labor costs. These slides so far basically cover the first part of our recommendation. Thanks, Trish. This next slide will cover our proposed new solar and storage rate, which only affect new solar and storage customers after year 2021. It's very important to let you know that this new rate will not impact customers who already have solar. They can stay on the current rate that they are on through December 31st of 2030. The next slide, please, Trish. Thank you. This illustration is to provide you an overview of where we have been. Back in 1998, it was adopted something that we call net energy metering to encourage the adoption of solar. And as you can see in the illustration, there are times when these solar systems are being used that the customer uses the power in their house, and there are times that they need power from SMAD during different times of the day. So there is a mechanism that is called net energy metering. This billing arrangement provides a credit to solar customers for the full retail value of excess energy that they produce from the systems, and also sent back to SMAD. So this rate, the current one, is significantly higher than the actual cost of producing power. SMAD helped transform this solar industry through this generous program. And also we met a requirement by the state in year 2017. Those are the main drivers why we were changing the rate, and we have spent very comprehensive time over 2 years to design an updated rate for our customers that now we are exceeded this mandate. The next slide, please. Thank you. So why are we doing this change now? We're changing this because SMAD is now paying solar customers more than the current value of that solar energy. The goal is to price energy in a way that it's balanced for all our customers and encourage more clean energy solutions to benefit our entire community. Also recognize that value of solar and appreciate the investments that customers made over the early years when this technology was new. And that's why we're recommending to keep those customers on the existing rates all the way through 2030. And just as we help transform the rooftop solar industry, with this recommendation, we propose changes to help us transition the market from current rooftop solar alone to solar plus storage, recognizing that the greater value and broader benefits that combination brings to our community and the grid. For the last 2 years, we have spent over 1,000 hours working collaboratively with customers, stakeholders in solar and storage industry to design this industry-leading proposal that we are about to share with you here. The next slide, please. Thank you. So here's what we're recommending, and we are summarizing in this slide the components of the recommendation. So if, for example, if you are a current solar customer, you will see no changes through 2030. And the second part is customers who install new solar only or after January 1 of 2022 will be charged an interconnection fee to cover costs related to those services. SMAD will buy back excess power at a rate of 7.4 cents per kilowatt hour, no matter the time of the day. It's going to be a flat value. Today, we are, just to let you know, we are one of the few utilities in the state and in the country that does not assess an interconnection fee associated with solar system being interconnected to our grid. Next slide, please, Trish. These are 3 more features of the recommendation. If you are an existing solar customer who wants to add storage but do not want to participate in our incentive and programs, there will be no change. And again, you can keep this existing rate through 2030. If you are a customer who have a storage or decide to add it in an opt-in basis and decided to enroll in our incentive or participate in our programs, then it will be required to transition to this new rate where SMAD will buy back the excess power at a rate of 7.4 cents per kilowatt hour. And lastly, the new solar and storage customers will be charged, again, an interconnection fee. SMAD will buy back the excess power at a rate of 7.4 cents per kilowatt hour. We have a very long presentation. We condensed it because we know time was limited, but with this recommendation, I just want to let you know, SMAD is taking a holistic approach to rates and program design. We're balancing programs and rates. We're developing new programs to support customer investment in storage, As a matter of fact, we are committing to invest $25 million in the form of storage incentives, ranging from $500 for storage alone, $1,500 when a customer participates in our critical peak pricing program or rate, and up to $2,500 when a customer participates in a new program, which is currently under development, called Virtual Power Plant Program. We're very excited about offering this new program. We're also, just before I move on, we're bringing something that we call a new virtual net energy metering program to under-resourced affordable housing buildings. We know this is a lot of information that we're sharing with you. You can find more details and more information at smart.org/ratesinfo. The next slide, please, Trish. Thank you. That covers the second part of the presentation. The last part is the optional critical peak pricing rate that we're going to offer to our residential customers. The next slide, please. This new optional rate will help us reduce energy usage when the system is very stressed, especially during summer time. On the occasion that Smart Grid is experiencing such a stress, for example, during an extended heat wave, just like the ones we had not long ago in the last year, we may declare a critical peak pricing event. This is how we call it at this moment. We will change that name if it's needed. And that will impact customers who are enrolled in this program and who have smart thermostat and solar and battery storage, so they can help us reduce consumption at that time. This is where the participation of customers can help, because Smart will ask participants, especially residential, to reduce consumption during these events and ask us to use those batteries either to use that consumption at their homes or actually export it when we need it. The customers agree on this scope of this rate to pay a higher price for energy during those critical peak events. Could be 50 hours per summer and no more than 4 hours per event, in exchange for a discounted price during the rest of the hours, basically something that we call off-peak and mid-peak hours. We have enough participants, I think, in a critical peak pricing event, and if we believe we can achieve that, it will help us avoid using less environmental friendly power plants to generate energy. And it's important to know that the name of this proposed change, this rate right now we call it critical peak pricing, but we are doing research to find perhaps a better name, a more marketable name for this program. The next slide, please. With that, these are a few additional slides to go. And just to let you know, every time when we have a rate action, it's a very comprehensive process. It requires a lot of public process and exchange of feedback. So we bring miscellaneous changes, like we are updating certain transmission rates, reviewing rules and regulation, and certain tariffs. And if you're interested in looking at that, we can definitely provide more specific information, and it's available at smart.org/ratesinfo. And from a public process perspective, so we have events coming right now. Those are the last couple of weeks ago, we have a July 8th public workshop. We have now a July 27th is next Tuesday. The board is expected to vote on, to have a public hearing on August 31st. All these are virtual meetings via Zoom, and the final decision is expected on September 16 at 5:30 p.m. via Zoom as well. Next slide, please. And if you need more information, you have the resources here on the screen, and this presentation, as you understand, is going to become public. So these links can work to give you that access, and the phone numbers as well. Next slide, please, Trish. That's the end of the presentation. I'm here with other colleagues. As I said earlier in the presentation, we will be happy to address any questions that you may have. And thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hernandez. Is there any questions or comments from council at this time?
I have a couple.
Mr. Schaefer?
Thank you for your presentation, Mr. Hernandez. I appreciate that very much. So the first, as I understand it, you are encouraging the use of solar. The connection, I don't. Can you explain what the interconnection fee? You show that it's $475 to $900. Is that per year, or how does it? And how would you determine whether it's $475 or $900?
Yeah, thank you for that very interesting question. As I mentioned, we are one of the few utilities that currently we do not assess that kind of fee. This is similar to cities fees that are based on, the cost of providing those services. Staff did an analysis of the cost of doing that kind of work, and it varies. So we are recommending this $475 for services like inspection when the installation is being requested, and doing other back office work in order to these systems to be validated and reviewed and approved for installation. And the first group that is less than 10 kW, just to give you an idea, kW is the measurement of these systems. Typically, companies install systems between 4 and 7 kW for a normal home. So that will be the majority of the customers seeing that fee is $475. There are cases, not very common, that the systems are higher for big homes or for whatever reason the system is higher. Then that will be subject to the $900, which would be for systems from 10 kW to 20 kW, which compared to the average home, those are systems relatively very large. I hope that I was able to address.
So that's a one-time fee.
Yes.
That's a one-time connection fee, rate connection fee.
That's right.
So I had if you could answer this question for me, this is from one of my constituents here. He says, historically, SMUD has offered monthly subsidies by the way of example, system infrastructure EARP discount to low-income individuals, such as individuals with fixed incomes, such as pensioners. SMUD has reduced those subsidies starting January 2020. In light of those proposed rate increases, is SMUD going to increase subsidies to help low-income individuals pay their increased electric bill, especially in light of the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic and increased demand for their air conditioning in the light of past and projected heat waves? That's the first question.
Yeah, in regard to the energy assistance program rate, this is a program, as it was well stated in the comment, that we offer to our customers to help with the electric bill. We did do a restructure of that program. It started it, remember, I think it was adopted in 2017, and we roll out that restructure in 2018 all the way through 2021. So it did make some changes to certain customers, but we realigned it with the intent of giving the ones who needed most more. Before, it used to be a flat discount in percentage across everybody. Now we are, for example, providing for those who are in the 0 to 50% of the federal poverty level. We are giving them more because we believe those customers are the ones who need it more. Everybody needs it. We understand that, but we have to prioritize within that group. So, for example, for them, we're giving them $60 per month in addition to $10 of the fixed charge, and from 50 to 100 of the federal poverty level, we are decreasing it. We're giving right now about $32 per month, in addition to the same $10 of the fixed charge credit. And from 100 to 150% of the federal poverty level, we're still giving $10 plus $10 of the fixed charge. So we restructure it. We do know that may have some impact to certain customers, but the intent was to provide that help to those and prioritize to those who need it most. And this rate, the new recommendation does not bring any changes to it. And in terms of subsidy, we're not making at this moment any recommendation on this program. I hope that addresses the question.
Thank you. So moving on to the next question. In the past, SMUD has provided subsidies for individuals who use electric medical devices such as oxygen generators and CPAP machines. Although the subsidy has been terminated to most individuals who use these types of medical devices, most of whom are seniors, the financial benefit was not as important as the fact that a customer with the subsidy provided information to SMUD for priority in which electrical outage is needed and repaired. For clarification, the concern is that, when the power goes out since these folks are not necessarily registered, they don't qualify for your program, but they're still significantly impacted for having their medical devices not available to be used. So, the next part of the question is, what is SMUD doing to assure the medical device customers other than hospitals, assisted living facilities, and fire stations are given priority for electrical repairs who no longer receive the subsidy?
Well, thank you once again for that wonderful comment. We're going to take some of these comments back and review the comment in general. But I hear part of the comment that this subsidy has been eliminated or something like that. I just want to clarify and confirm this. It is actually a $15 credit for the medical device. It still exists. We did not eliminate it, and we do have a process for customers be eligible to qualify. And then we will be happy to assist a specific customer that wrote those comments, or in general to the public. We have a specific department that addressed those requests. We will be happy to follow up after this meeting. We haven't changed them, and there were also very good comments in this feedback that we will definitely take it back to our staff.
Thank you very much. I have one more final. In that the pandemic has adversely impacted fixed income individuals, what is SMUD doing to help these individuals, especially in light of the proposed rate increases to pay their electric bills?
Yeah, but interesting question too. Very, very good, because we, as many utilities, we adapted to this new reality that is here with us probably for a long time, and we didn't assess disconnection or with disconnection charges and things like that. We're still doing it. There was an announcement that we made that we may review that and make a decision in June. We're still doing it. We're not disconnecting customers for non-payment at this moment. And we will continue to assess the situation that this continues, right? We all hear the news of what's going on, that we haven't resolved this issue yet, but we are very conscious of the situation of our customers, and then we'll take that and we'll continue to revise those policies just like we did. We announced that we will do that change in June, and then we haven't done it, and then we will take this feedback as well to review this comment in line with the development that are happening. Thank you for that feedback as well.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Hernandez, for your patience with me. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome, and thank you for having us today.
All right, any other questions and comments from council members? Not, I'd like to thank our colleagues from SMUD for enlightening us on their rate increase. And thank you, Mr. Hernandez, for your presentation.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone.
Take care. Okay, now we're ready to go back to the first presentation.
Yes, so we'll go back to presentation 4, presentation by the Greater Sacramento Economic Council.
Thank you, Mayor Miller and members of City Council. Megan Huber, Economic Development and Communications Manager for the City of Citrus Heights. This item is in follow-up to annual budget approval that took place on April 22nd of this year. That included our annual membership to Greater Sacramento Economic Council. Although already approved and rolling again, it is certainly a best practice for both of our organizations to come together at least once a year to be able to share updates, best practices, and exciting future items. So that is what is before you this evening, and I'm very excited to introduce CEO Gary Broom.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Gary?
Well, thank you for having me. Can you hear me? You think I'd be good at Zoom calls, but by now I'd have them down to perfection. But I'm still a baby boomer, so I'm like the guy in the Geico commercial, so I can lose my my Zoom skills very soon. Well, first of all, thank you for having me, and thank you for continuing to work with the entire region and all of the top CEOs in the community on designing and building really a better economy. I mean, the best way to look at this organization, which is now 6 years old, so it's still relatively young and new, is it's really about us turning our community into a marketplace so that we can elevate and grow the economy in a more inclusive, equitable way, move the economy away from government. Historically, our dependency on government has created very difficult income standards. It's made it difficult for people to penetrate the job market. And so move away from government, have a more resilient economy, have that economy be more independent in the control of our community, have it produce higher wages, have it be more dynamic. And then communities like Citrus Heights a chance to get a set of services they couldn't produce on their own. So how do you grow the economy? Make it more dynamic, make it a higher performing economy, more sustainable, and then have that economy be something we control, not wait for a corporate decision or a state government decision that negatively affects our economy. And then the CEOs fund 82% of the organization on behalf of the communities, so communities can participate and get a set of services they can't create on their own, whether it be branding or marketing or communication, analytics, design thinking, or even something as simple as being able to consistently travel and talk to US and global marketplace about the strengths of Greater Sacramento. It also gives us leverage. So when we're dealing with the California State Legislature and the governor, as you know, it's very difficult to find leverage in those conversations. Having 45 CEOs at the table with 20 community leaders gives us a little bit more clout, a little bit more leverage, and obviously helps us turn the corner. So the goal is a brand, a market, a reputation, jobs, an economy independent of being government dependent, and then having that economy represent inclusion, equity, and higher incomes. So that's the basic objective. And there's obviously a set of strategies and services that we all join in together to achieve these objectives. August 18th, 19th, and 20th is a retreat. We have 90% of our board attending that retreat. That is funded by the CEOs, not public dollars. And the goal will be at that retreat is, what do we look like over the next 3 years after this very difficult pandemic, after this very difficult economic period, after a very complex political environment that is increasingly complex? How do we as civic leaders move our region and move our economy forward in the next 3 years so that recover stronger than we were before? So those are kind of the basis. So I know we're going to roll into this presentation. I don't know who's managing it, but hopefully it's not me. Otherwise, it'll stare at that, right? Okay, perfect. So I talked a little bit about this, but we're a marketplace of 2.5 million people. We have 1.2 million people in our workforce. And really, your economy is a formulation of assets and people, right? If UC Davis deploys itself in the Greater Sacramento region, your asset potential goes up. If all the UC Davis graduates move out and go to San Francisco, your asset potential goes down. If Sac State has an 8.5% graduation rate over 4 years, like it did before Robert Nelson came in, your potential goes down. If they move that graduation up to 40 or 50%, your potential goes up. So having the ability to monitor and develop all the behaviors, create a single market with 2.5 million people, so that investment in jobs has a seamless experience and that you can scale and drive those more effectively going forward. All right. So one of the things we always like to say is no one community can produce its own economy. So if you look at this slide, Citrus Heights produces 12% of its jobs, but even a community that you might think is got a bigger footprint and more capabilities like a Roseville, they only produce 15% of their jobs. Folsom produces 16%. So even if you're working at Intel or if you're working in Roseville, you might be living in Citrus Heights, you might be living in Sacramento. So there's got to be a mechanism to drive the economy beyond multiple jurisdictions and to help people elevate beyond that. So without one community producing more than 33% of its jobs, it's the combined efforts of all the communities that really drive the economy. So I'll give you some organizational highlights. So we always say we start from the simple to the complex. So the organization was launched in 2015. The business community closed SACTO, closed SARTA, because, as you know, we have many nonprofits. You got a lot of competing interests. The marketplace was fragmented. No one could really scale. No one could really talk for the region. No one could really lead effective change. And so, we built a really simple economic model We just finished our 5th year. We're going into our 6th year. And now for the exact same dollars that people have historically invested in, we're able to move into another model. So instead of just building brand, reputation, business recruitment, consultation and support, we've spent a lot of time on Sunrise Mall. We think Christopher's leadership and Megan's leadership on Sunrise Mall has been very important. But, Sunrise Mall needs a region, right? You can't bring a mall back on the backs of one city. You need the entire region to elevate that. So we've launched business retention expansion. And we're now starting to meet with, companies to keep them here, help them grow, right? So we've had about 100 of those companies. So in addition to doing what we do externally in the Bay Area, LA, nationally and globally to talk to investment counselors and advisors about the future of the region and how to invest here, we're also now working inwardly with our economic development team to make sure people aren't leaving town. That sounds simple, but this is actually very complicated, very labor intensive. So we take the exact same platforms, data, information, and services we use to introduce companies to the market. We reintroduce local people to the market. And it's really like a case management program if you were doing social work. We have companies like Power School in Folsom or Origin Materials out in West Sacramento that are looking to do a public offering. Well, we want to make sure those companies stay here. We want to make sure that companies that are coming out of the ground and growing are getting services. So we coordinate this on the ground experience with the local economic development teams, but we also provide a different set of capabilities. Or sometimes we're finding capital for a company. Sometimes we're helping them with a building expansion. A lot of this ties back to our ability to design workforce programs for the future of work. So this business and retention program, we rolled it out this year. It's now a fully funded operational part of our economic development strategy. And it's kind of an example of our ability to kind of move forward. So not only do we find out how to we've kept 15 new companies in the region, but these companies have supply chain relationships, they have customer relationships. And sometimes they tell us, hey, by the way, XYZ company who I do business with in Boston or in San Jose is actually looking for a new location, and they can introduce us to companies that we might be able to convince to come into our community. So we have about 293 companies right now that have generated an interest for us. So most of the company evaluations of a market like ours is in the hands of a Deloitte, an EY, a KPMG, or McKinsey. So if you're a Google or an Amazon or a Microsoft, you're really not evaluating companies. I mean, you're too busy running a software company or you're running a worldwide digital company. So even things like Amazon doing their second headquarters, that was managed out of Atlanta, Georgia by a consulting network that specializes in advising companies on how to make choices on communities. So a big part of what we do, there's about 300 national consultants that we feed evidence and analytics constantly on our market, that we get on Zoom calls. Sometimes we visit them. So they're familiar with the market, where the trends are. So when their clients go, hey, I'm looking for a second-tiered market, or I'm thinking of looking at California, but I don't want to be in the Bay Area, that those consulting networks go, we know a team in the Sacramento region, Greater Sacramento Economic Council, that we think you'd enjoy working with. They have a lot of credibility. We have a lot of confidence in them. So we got about 293 companies that are in current conversation. Qualified prospects, this means we're in the top 5. So there's 83 companies that that have materialized an investment, materialized a number. We're putting $25 million in capital into the market. We're doing 300 jobs, and we're happy to report that the Greater Sacramento area is one of the 5 communities that we're considering, right? So these, we call them tradable sectors, not big companies that make products and services and sell them globally, right? So it could be a small company that becomes a large company. It could be an Apple. It could be a Facebook. It could be a Microsoft. But these are the companies that drive high-end, high-wealth jobs for the community, and that's what we focus on. So out of 293 leads, we have 83 qualified prospects. Our goal would be to get about 20 of those companies to commit to the region. That commitment would be over about a 12 to 18-month timetable without interruption. All the qualified prospects together represent about 11,000 jobs, $2.5 billion and $9.1 million in potential footages. square footage. So one of the challenges that we have in our community, having been historically a government town, is our real estate development doesn't keep up with the change in industry. So it's really about an entire system cohesively coming together, right? You have a brand, you have a market position, you have a reputation that you're developing. You've got a set of data and evidence that starts to differentiate you. So if you're looking at something, even something like Major League Soccer or the Oakland A's, if you've seen, we've contacted Major League Baseball and asked for an opportunity to negotiate with the Oakland A's if they're not able to fulfill their transaction in Oakland. This is strictly an evidential exchange. They're going to ask us for what's 18 to 34-year-olds doing in your community? What are your college graduates doing? How many of them stay in town? What's the price of your houses? What's the demographic makeup of your region? You know, what are young people doing? You know, how hard is it to get a CEO? It isn't like buying a house. They're not calling us for a 3-bedroom home, 2-bath with a nice school. It's much more evidential based. Sometimes in the case of a company like Centene, which was one of the bigger projects we were able to secure, it was literally an 18-month exchange of nothing more than analytic platforms. So as you're watching in your own world, data and evidence, law enforcement, analytics, right? So analytics went from being something that was a highly specialized expertise to a mainstream expertise. And literally 1/3 of our team does absolutely nothing but manage analytics on the market. And everybody in leadership in this organization, my executive vice president, myself, my head of business development, my head of strategy, all start as analysts. So in our industry, people start from an analytics background and they move into these other backgrounds around business development, marketing, and communications. So it's really a very sophisticated interchange between your evidence and what the company's looking for. And then, of course, you have to validate and prove that the company can be successful in the region. And that's really the bulk of where we spend our money, building the evidence, communicating the evidence, and then going back in and advising policymakers on what's going on with the evidence. So you'll see us raise much more concerns about workforce going forward. So if you look at the Sacramento Employment Training Agency, you know, they're not producing hard skills. So when people want to know how can we make our economy more equitable, well, if your workforce programs are soft skills, we're teaching people how to interview, how to write resumes. Well, that makes sense to someone that maybe economically has been left behind. But how do you put them in a living wage without a skill? So that's an example of us taking data, going in the Sacramento Employment Training Agency and saying, you know, you don't have a digital skills footprint. Now, last year wasn't a great year, obviously, because, you know, we basically went a year without it. So typically what our goal is do about 15 locates a year. Our goals going forward is about 15 locates and 5 significant expansions. When we do 15 locates and 5 significant expansions, believe it or not, our market outperforms Portland, Atlanta. Last year, you know, was a tough year, but we already know going into this year, which is not part of this numbers, we've announced HCL, which is coming here from India, 750 jobs. Those jobs pay about $98,500. We signed a life science research and development facility, $200 million of investment, 400 jobs, all well above the pay grades in the region. We have a headquarters from the East Coast coming here, 250 jobs, all 6 figures. We have a pharmaceutical investment out of Chicago that has closed in on one of our communities. And then we have a large South Korean investment of about 1,000 jobs. So it's almost like this kind of year got wiped out. And we're hoping that, which is why you're seeing that spike, you've really seen a delay in economic activity. So we're hoping that, you know, 2021, 22, 2023, 2024 is a real rebound in our economic recovery, similar to what you're seeing, you know, in the national market where, you know, the US economy announced 800,000 jobs. A typical performance is 300,000. But, you know, as you know, in our region, we lost 130,000 jobs during COVID. So we've recovered about 80,000 of those jobs back. We have another 52,000 jobs to recover. We see our recovery taking us into 2023. But the question is the recovery going to be better than it was before? Right now, we're going to recover faster than the US market, and we're going to recover faster than California. That'll be the first time in the history of the greater Sacramento region that our economy after recession has recovered faster than California and faster than the US average. So in 2008, after the Great Recession, we had the worst recovery in the western half of the United States. We had the worst recovery in California, and we had one of the worst economic recoveries in America. When we did recover, we were the second worst place for young people to find a job. And we were 84 out of 100 being the worst in inclusion. We're now 14th in inclusion, which we're very proud of. Our prosperity date has moved from 36 to 34. And, so basically it shows that intentional planning and execution on that really works. A big part of what we've been doing is obviously we spent a lot of time on the brand, all the things you read about our region and community. That is a branding campaign led by Michelle Willard on our team. Next Out West campaign was really, an effort for us to drive more talent out of the Bay Area. As you probably hear from businesses, we already have labor shortages. So as we recover for this more high valued economy, our own market has to do a better job at producing talent, but we also have to do a better job at capturing talent from other markets, which has really been the key to California's success. I mean, if you're looking at any of the data, highly skilled young people and high net worth professionals move to California. What's moving out is more the middle class. What's moving in is educated young people and high-end professionals. We did receive the 2021 IEDC Gold Award. Just so you know, that's our second one. It's kind of a very prestigious award. So hats off to our marketing communications team. But brand impression, getting something out with 8 million in reach, that does a lot to put us on the map. We also have started to disrupt the workforce model. One of the challenges we have in workforce in our community is we see people who are as unemployed, quite candidly, in some cases, as less than their potential. That's something we want to guard against. So we built with the Urban League a digital upskilling program. Shout out to Councilmember Middleton. We stole her program in Louisville. We didn't know that. But we found the program we really liked. We're a big believer in best practices and execution. So we scour the country, find best practice programs, bring them in, kind of clean them up and make them a greater Sacramento philosophy, and then we execute them. But we took 40 people out of underserved communities. 93% graduated with a Google certification. Of those graduates, all but 5 have found living wage jobs in the 55,000 range. And these were folks that were unemployed, single moms, people with a high school diploma, and they're now working at Accenture, VSP, and they're making a living wage. These big companies have high wage jobs, and they have labor shortages. And we really believe that the inclusion model is about connecting people to higher opportunities and higher wage opportunities, and that's going to require a shift. But this has been modeled by the Biden administration. So we now have had 2 calls with the Biden administration. We're going to roll out more digital programs in the fall. So now we have Joe Biden's education advisors following what we're doing, and we hope we'll be able to create a model that'll really change the economy, change the quality of life for people in our region, change some of the unfortunate biases in the economy, and then take it to the next level. Engagement's an important part. Every time you read something in the LA Times or the Washington Post, that comes out of our communication team. So we build storyboards in our communities and we go out and place them. So we had like this Next Out West campaign, which was our talent recruitment campaign, and we got Bloomberg to do a story on it. Some of you might have seen the CNBC mass exodus on California. That's now 14 million people. It's a 30-minute report on CNBC. They did 8 minutes on the Greater Sacramento Economic Council. Our position, and this was several months ago, was that people weren't leaving California. There wasn't a mass exodus. That was what the press was saying. Now that the dust is settled, we kept about 98% of our tech companies, most of our talent. So there were some high profile exits like Elon Musk, which you don't want. But a lot of what we do too is, there's plenty of problems in California. There's plenty of problems in Greater Sacramento, but that doesn't mean that's our only story, our shortcomings. We have a lot to talk about. We've got a lot of strengths. So we move forward on those kind of things as well. And this is something I'm really proud of because the CNBC story actually got the 14 million views and, about 9 minutes just on our region. And, we felt that effect in the marketplace. So what we're going to do is come out of the retreat, put our head down and lay down a 3-year recovery model. And the 3-year recovery model will include, obviously business and talent attraction. And a lot of the people, I know there's different feelings about the migration in from the Bay Area. People are attributing that to housing prices and rents going up. But really, to be honest with you, our rents are going up and our housing prices are going up, but they're actually, for the most part, on our houses, they've been staying below the national average in housing prices. So the average housing price being sold in Denver is $674,000. So part of the challenge of becoming a dynamic community is you lose some of your affordability. And obviously we're sensitive to that, but we do think it properly trained people can grow and expand. So obviously business talent recruitment, continue the national brand. Power School is doing an IPO. We'll be at the New York Stock Exchange promoting our community as Power School goes to the New York Stock Exchange. We're being careful with Oakland's challenges, but you'll see us in a very high profile effort to go after the A's. We think Major League Soccer, we're still optimistic about Major League Soccer. These are the kind of things that lead your brand, your reputation. Is this place going in the right direction? Then obviously foreign direct investment is going to be really important. So in this action plan, how do we do 6,000 jobs and 60 companies in the next 3 years? These are tradable sector jobs. The reason we bring this up is, the government economy, it takes 5 government jobs to produce 1 other job. In other words, if 5 people go to work for the government, there's enough spending and activity to create another job. Usually that job's a low wage job and a low value job because the government jobs, they don't build supply chains. They're not capital intensive. You're working at the DMV, you're working at the Attorney General. So when we talk about 6,000 jobs, we're really talking about 24,000 jobs because tradable sector jobs have the opposite effect of government. They're higher wages and they create leverage, right? How do we open up our foreign direct investment program? We have a lot of traffic out of Europe. We're going to focus on Japan, China, Europe. In the case of HCL, which has been announced, that came out of India. The project with 1,000 new jobs, that's coming out of South Korea. So what's happening with the economy as we mature, we're becoming more of a choice for foreign direct investment and higher wage jobs. And people don't feel like if I'm going to be in California, I have to be in the Bay Area or LA. So foreign direct investment is really important. How do we build talent, keep talent? We used to capture 10% of UC Davis graduates. That number's pushing 40% now. That completely changes the entire economy in this community if you keep your college graduates. And by the way, 75% of the students at UC Davis and Sac State come from low to very low income backgrounds. So when we talk about equity inclusion, we're really talking about our college kids. 50% of our region is racially diverse. So keeping our college kids and doing better for them is not only an important part of the economy, but it is an inclusion factor. And then obviously we need to be industry led, right? So when we're building a workforce strategy, you don't want to train people to work in low wage jobs. You want to train people to be in e-mobility. So when we design things like the California Mobility Center, which opened in January, it builds engineering platforms for electric vehicles. So that's not just designed to attract electric vehicles here, but it's also to train Sacramento State graduates into electric vehicles. If we work on Aggie Square, it's not just to bring life science companies here, but there are training modules there that actually prepare people for the future of life sciences. So if we're going to grow the economy, we have to connect our people and our talent to the industries of the future. And so there's got to be an alignment. So we're going to focus on tech, focus on electric vehicles, focus on cell therapies, focus on food and agricultural science, focus on software. Well, then the people in the community got to be trained for those industries as well. And then the physical environment of the community has to mimic that. So it was a little longer probably than I should have, but I have so much excitement all the time when I get to talk to our partners. So I apologize for going a little long, and I have to remind myself, you might be here to midnight. So I apologize if I went a little bit long, but it's good to see everybody. I can't wait to see you in person, and I'm looking forward to continued success together.
Barry, always great to hear from you. Thanks for the very comprehensive report. Are there any questions and comments for Mr. Broom from council members?
Thank you, Barry, for presenting to us.
Thank you. And thank you for being one of our founders. I know you've been with us from the beginning. So I for sure appreciate that.
And I'm sure you've heard that we've completed our specific plan. I think we're in comment period right now. So coming up, keep it on your calendar, the redevelopment of Sunrise Mall. We're getting very excited to hear about that.
We have been all over that.
Thank you. And we will for the next decade or so.
Exactly, right. It's good to know we have things to do. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Well, thanks again.
Thank
We'll
you,
talk to you
Chris.
soon.
Thank you so much.
Okay, that does it for our presentations tonight. Next item is comments by council members and regional board updates. I'd ask Councilmember Bruins to go first, please.
Okay. Thank you very much. Make sure I'm unmuted here. So we had a regional stand meeting a couple weeks ago, and it was pretty standard stuff. We've got a lot of retirements coming up this year. Our chief financial officer has retired. Our district engineer will be retiring in September, so we're seeing some new people. Then I also had a PAL board meeting this month, and PAL is just going gangbusters. They had an event on Monday where they had a swim day at Rush Park and had 35 to 40 kids show up there, some new kids that were given registration packets, fed them, always feed them when we entertain them. So kudos to Lieutenant Chris Fry and his team on that, and really appreciate all they're doing. Some other reports from the PAL meeting is that we're having discussions with the chamber of possibly putting on another cornhole tournament with them as partners. Right before the pandemic, I think it was one of the last events that was at the community center. We put on a cornhole tournament that was just more fun than I ever thought it could be. And it was a fundraiser for PAL. So that's something that we might look forward to in the future for next year. We have, of course, we had a report on our state grant, which is our grant that is being officiated by Officer Brittany Soriano to stop kids from vaping and smoking. So that is an ongoing program. It's grant funded, and a new website has gone up on that as an educational piece for kids. Also, PAL is looking forward to putting on Trunk or Treat again this year for Halloween. That was very successful last year, and even talking about potentially Miracle on Fountain Square Drive, depending on what we do for Christmas and where we stand as far as the public being able to congregate. So PAL is going gangbusters, happy to say that. And then Tuesday evening, I attended Chasen, which is neighborhood area 789, my home neighborhood association. We had a great presentation by Citrus Heights Water District. It's their 100th anniversary, and so they took time to reflect and give us kind of a mid-year report, which was very enlightening. And then today, Councilmember Tim Schaefer and I were among a group of people at the Sylvan Ranch Community Garden on the corner of Sylvan Road and Stock Ranch Road to celebrate the ribbon cutting of Citrus Heights Water District's parcel in the garden there. So they have come on as very strong partners of the community garden to provide education and hands-on plants that are drought resistant and low water friendly. And we had quite a group of people, and it was very nice to see everybody there, including some of our city staff. Colleen McDuffie comes to mind, and saw David Wheaton, who's on the water board, along with Ray Reilly, who's an old friend of ours from his time on service here in Citrus Heights. So a lot going on. You can tell that people are getting out and doing more things, and it's nice to be around others. And I think that covers it for me. Just a reminder, because we won't meet again, that we do have a National Night Out first Tuesday in August, which I believe is the 3rd. So look forward to seeing some people out there too. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeannie. Councilmember Schaefer?
Thank you. I'd just like to follow up. I did enjoy very much the water efficiency garden ribbon cutting this morning with Jeannie. It was really, it's a really impressive operation they have over there. I couldn't believe how much the vegetables are grown there. It's just amazing. The quality of these people are really good at farming, and it's really impressive. And the drip system that they had there was another one that's really innovative. So keeping those plants watered at the same time, growing some great produce. So thank you very much to them. I did have, so the library board meeting has been postponed. It went dark for July. It's going to be on August 12th is going to be the next one. I did have a meeting. I sit on the committee that's going to be selecting the replacement director. Rivka Sass is retiring this year, the end of this year. And so I'm joined with Vice Supervisor Sue Frost and Rancho Cordova Mayor Garrett Gatewood, Elk Grove Council Member Kevin Spees. And we all kind of sat together and talked about what kind of traits we wanted to see in the next director of the library system, which is elaborate. It's 28 facilities and they employ 678 people. So it's a lot of responsibility, and it's a joint powers authority, meaning that there's City of Sacramento, City of all the various cities around the and the unincorporated parts of the county are involved. So some of the things that we came up with was somebody who has JPA experience, because you're juggling a lot of hats there. You are negotiating with several different parties. That you have large organization experience at, like I said, 678 people, strong financial skills, and strong leadership and team building skills and being goals oriented. So we're very excited about interviewing candidates. There was a firm that was selected called WPCP was selected to do the executive search, where they have lots of experience in recruiting for large firms, city executive level folks. So we look forward to a really good outcome. We're hoping to get someone appointed before Rivka retires, so there's a little bit of overlap. So we look forward to a nice, smooth transition. Rivka has been fantastic. I haven't had the pleasure of working with her for very long, but the short time that I have worked with her, she has been phenomenal. Just a pleasure to work with. So anyhow, that's all I had, Mayor. Thank you.
Thanks, Tim. Vice Mayor Middleton.
All of my committees are still dark. We won't meet up again until August, so nothing to report.
That's not fair.
That's
Okay.
life.
All right, thank you, Portia. For me, back on the 13th, I think that was Tuesday, attended the Citrus Heights Chamber of Commerce lunchtime meeting. I think that was the first time in person in almost a year and a half. It seemed like forever. And our own city manager, Chris Boyd, was the lunchtime speaker. The following day, I got the pleasure of touring the Siemens plant, who will be building SAC-RT's new low-floor light rail trains. They haven't started yet, but we did see some examples from San Diego. And I was with our general manager, Henry Lee from RT. I was like a kid in a train store, I guess. I got to see the locomotives being built and climb around in them, how they built the coach cars for Amtrak. Huge order going back east for them. So Siemens is doing really well. It's good to see their plant has expanded since I've been down there last time. And again, a very nice tour, and I'm very thankful to Siemens for accommodating me. Saturday, I had the honor, and it was a pleasure, to speak at the memorial service for Jim Ronsenval over at the Citrus Heights Community Center for Veterans. Very well attended, a very good event, and we will miss Jim in our community for eternity. Also, it was Tim gave us a good update on the executive search at the library. I wanted to clear some things up on our executive search. There seems to be some misinformation here and online. I just want to reiterate some of the facts. Our city manager met with the city council on April 12th and formally informed us of his decision to retire. It was a month later, not a day later, that he retired. And the council then decided to hire him as city manager on May 13th, a couple days later, and he was signed to a 12-month contract. So we asked him to coordinate the hiring replacement on behalf of the council, given his experience and knowledge of the industry. And we issued a request for proposals for search firms on May 28th. We received 15 proposals, which have been reviewed and analyzed, and the city has interviewed the top 3 for consideration. We're currently in the process of finalizing a contract with the chosen search firm, so just a little early to say who that is till the paper's inked. That should be in the next couple days. And moving forward, the process will now include the council members developing a candidate profile, just like Tim discussed, creation of a search flyer, opening the position, marketing. It'll be more than just an ad in a magazine. And if it is anticipated, if all goes well, that we can have a new city manager starting in around the December, January timeframe. So that's where we're at right now. And I just wanted to disclose that in the interest of transparency. And with that, I don't think there's any other items that I have for you. So next item, please.
Next item is public comment. Members of the public may address the council on any item of interest to the public and within the council's purview, or on any agenda item before or during the council's consideration of the item. Speakers will be limited to 3 minutes each. If you wish to address the council during the Zoom meeting, please use the raise hand function or *9 from a telephone to indicate your desire to speak. When your name is called, I will allow you to unmute your microphone to speak. And I know that we do have a couple of speakers here in the.
Yes, Ms. Van, I was going to call the ones that are present here first, then we'll go to the written and the online. First one I have is April McGee, followed by Terry Kerr. Yeah, sorry.
It's okay. I've never done this before. Hello,
Hi.
council members. So I'm new to Citrus Heights. I moved here last September. Thank you. I love my neighborhood. I'm over there in the Sylvan Corners area by the library, out in the Cinderella houses. And it's been a very good experience for my daughter and I here, pretty much. But we were looking for our dog. There's been some drama with that. There's been, to me, some raised eyebrows about the behavior of the rescue community. They seem to, they're nestled right in there with animal control, and they get kind of a chip on their shoulder. They think they're a little bit like some kind of law enforcement sometimes. And so when my lost dog, who is at that jerky teenager phase of being a Shepherd Husky mix, decides he wants to go take himself out for a stroll, it's a big to-do because he's gorgeous. If he was a homely dog, he would not get much attention, but no, he steps out like this shiny gleaming dog. And so people take notice, and it's like a domino effect on Facebook and So we're looking for the dog, my daughter and I, and stumble upon, she says, "Mom, there's bunnies over there." And I said, "Really?" "No, there aren't." And she said, "No, look. And there were 2. I only saw 2 of them at that time. And so I went and I got on my Facebook and I said, "Somebody lost their bunnies." And they said, no, those bunnies are not lost. And so that was my introduction to the fluffle of barrel rabbits at the library. And I am from ranching communities in Arizona. We are familiar with rabbits. We know what they eat, and I'm good also in the nonprofit sector. So I put A and B together, and now the bunnies have basically an unlimited feed bag for their specific food. It took me 10 minutes. And we can go to this one feed store, and we have a bag literally, and we can fill it up as needed and feed the rabbits. So that was that. I didn't know about party A and I didn't know about party B, but I have arrived in Citrus Heights as a recent graduate. I completed all 4 years of high school and 4 college degrees, undergraduate degrees in sociology, social sciences, and psychology, and advanced to the Sac State system with honors and scholarships, and I'm continuing my education as a late bloomer. And in that vein, I like to do these projects. And I thought, my goodness, this library / park has a sanctuary attached to the rabbits.
I'll give you a couple seconds. You need to wrap up.
Okay, a greenhouse thing could be so cool, and it would be really, it would pay for itself. Like the city wouldn't have to pay a dime. I am good at what I do, and it would be a fun project, and it had nothing to do with either party. Although those elderly people who have been taking care of the rabbits should get a little more say so.
Thank you for your comments. You know, when I first moved here to Citrus Heights 35 years ago, took the kids to the library. Same thing.
Right.
That colony's been here for at least 35 years. And what further complicates it, and we care as a city,
Yeah.
that it's a county library and a county park. And yes, I'm aware every few years or so this issue comes up, and however we can help them. I know the park district did have the state veterinarian out there, and there's no disease, so that's a good thing. We keep an eye on our little colony. And
May I offer some citations that I picked up while I was looking this up? Look at Australia's feral rabbit problem with the domesticated European rabbit. They have no problem. They went from 24 rabbits to over 20 billion, and now they're down
a
to
couple days it took, right?
about 100 years.
Oh, 100 years, okay.
Yeah, but they started with 24 in Australia, and so, so there's really not a problem with the rabbits living outdoors.
Thank you for your comments. And next I have Terry Kerr. Come on down.
I'm Terry Kerr, and it looks like I wrote a novel, but not really. I just like to make copies of things.
You got 3 minutes to read it all.
All right, thank you.
Welcome.
My name's Terry Kerr, and I've been a resident of Citrus Heights for 28 years. I retired 3.5 years ago, and I began to do some activities that I never, ever had time to do before. And one of them was I went to the library, the Sylvan Library, and I also went to the park, Crosswoods Park, and I saw these bunnies and I said, oh boy. So I fell in love with them right away when I met them. So it's a well-established community. Going back, I've heard stories of families visiting the rabbits as far back as the 1960s. And those are fun stories that people from the park have shared with me, and also from the neighboring senior apartment complex where the bunnies also like to hang out. Oh yes, the seniors are spoiling them. But today we have a bit of a challenge going on, and what I did is I wrote a quick letter that I'd like to read. I know it's 3 minutes. Let's get with it here. This letter is being generated on behalf of Crosswoods Community Park and Open Space and its protected animal inhabitants. For generations, Crosswood Parks has been home to a community of feral domestic rabbits. Visitors and residents of the neighboring senior apartment complex appreciate and love our rabbit friends. Parents with children plan family outings to the park to feed and observe the rabbits in their natural habitat. However, in recent months, there have been groups of people descending on the park equipped with nets, cages, and wire fencing. They are trapping and removing the rabbits. This action is in direct violation of the park ordinance. They are also from rabbit rescue groups claiming the rabbits are unhealthy, diseased, and in need of a home. We, though, strongly disagree with their stated position and actions. We have a healthy, established community of feral rabbits born at Crosswoods Park, with the exception of a very small minority of tame rabbits that have been deserted by former owners. Our feral rabbit population are not candidates for adoption. We, the Friends of Crosswoods Community Park, want our park with its rules, regulations, and ordinance, SCO 9.36.061, to continue on for generations of visitors to enjoy.
Well, that was perfectly timed. That was the timer going off.
Actually, I had more to say, but when I saw that it was 3 minutes and not 5 minutes we got,
I'll give you a
I
few more
thought I would.
seconds to wrap up. You're doing good.
Well, your friendliness is certainly helpful, and I appreciate the welcome from all of you. I know that there's been a big concern about rabbits being deserted by former pet owners at Sylvan Library and at the park. And that is a concern because they are not suitable for the life in the park, in the outdoors. They are pets with humans imprinted on them. So there are a number of us, the homeless too, who are there at the park that will watch over and make certain if we see anybody dumping or deserting pet rabbits, that we would we'll contact the authorities and assist in that effort to prevent that from occurring on any kind of a regular basis for certain. We do, though, want the rabbit population, our feral rabbit population, to remain in Citrus Heights. And it's very, very much so a heartfelt situation. And a lot of us just love them. And I want it to continue for generations.
Thank you so much for your comments. And please copy the Park District, Dave Mitchell, the park administrators. I'm going to throw him under the bus again, but he's done a great job handling the situation. I think he needs to hear from you. I think.
And thank you. I know that he is, actually the letter is addressed to him and with the signatures.
He's been doing a great job trying to balance everybody's wants and needs. And you know, I know the rescuers are well-intended, but I don't think they quite understand the situation. And I'm still trying to understand it too. So thank you so much for your comments.
Thank you very much. I'm glad the veterinarian did see the rabbits.
Yes, we did. We wanted to make
because
sure.
we believe they're healthy. Thank you so much.
All right. Do we have?
I do have, I don't have any written comments, but I do have an individual that has raised its hand in Zoom.
Very good.
Rick Hodgkins. You can now unmute yourself and speak for 3 minutes.
Mr. Hodgkins, go ahead and unmute your mic.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Okay, great. I was trying to. All right, my computer talks, which is why you heard my computer say audio now unmuted. Anyway, I also plan to speak on the fireworks item, but I wanted to speak on public comment first. For those of you new council members who do not know me, my name is Rick Hodgkins. I live at 8007 Sunrise Boulevard, apartment 179. I don't know what area that which falls under. However, I hope to see some of you on National Night Out if you come by the apartment complex. A couple of you mentioned Sunrise Mall. I want to start off by asking a question. When do we start submitting public comments about the Sunrise Mall redevelopment?
Rick, I'll answer real quick. Go to our website, Sunrise Tomorrow. I believe there's a link to look at all that stuff.
Okay. And the second question I have, does anyone, I remember inside the Sunrise Mall that there used to be a small bakery called the Sunrise Bakery. Is anyone familiar with that? I don't know if that was owned by the Sunrise Mall itself or if that was a private owner, but I went to American River College to get a baking and pastry certificate. But because no one would hire me, given the fact that I'm blind, I'm trying to go into business for myself, and I'm either thinking about calling the bakery, naming the bakery after myself, or calling it Sunrise Bakery. But I would provide so much more than just danishes and donuts and stuff like that. Like the old Sunrise Bakery, it would be cakes and pies, things that I would make myself, because I don't know if that old Sunrise Bakery made it themselves or if they just, had things come in from other bakeries. So does anyone remember inside the Sunrise Mall? It's probably gone.
Rick, I have no idea. I'm going to wish you luck on your market research, though.
Yeah.
And I would hopefully like to be part of the redevelopment. So I will definitely go to some, because someone mentioned the plan. And when does a public comment open up for that?
Again, I'd have you go to Sunrise Tomorrow on our website. Type that in the search and it'll bring up all those answers for you.
All right.
And anybody else interested?
All right, great. Thanks very much.
Good to hear from you. And your time just ran out. Do you have anything else?
Nope, that was all.
Perfect.
That was all, and I'll come back on the fireworks thing.
All righty. Have a good evening. And is there any other hands raised?
No, I do not have any other raised hands at this time.
Okay. Well, then let's move on and get some business done.
The next item is consent calendar item 6.
Move approval of the consent calendar.
I second.
Motion by Miller, seconded by Schaefer. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Bruins.
Aye.
Councilmember Daniels is absent. Councilmember Schaefer.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Middleton.
Aye.
And Mayor Miller.
Aye.
Our next item is public hearing. Item number 7, the subject is Landscape Maintenance Assessment Districts 9801, 9802, and 0301, levy of fiscal year 21-22 assessments. The recommendation, there are 3 resolutions to confirm the diagram and assessment and to levy fiscal year 21-22 assessments for Landscape Maintenance Assessment Districts 9801, 9802, and 0301.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. Leslie Bloomquist with the General Services Department here tonight with Regina Cave regarding the first of several agenda items regarding the levy of fiscal year 21 and 22 assessments for various landscape assessment districts. Pursuant to the Landscape and Lighting Act of 1972, each year we must update the assessments for the various assessment districts throughout the city. At the last council meeting, you took the first step in the process and set tonight as the public hearing. This is the final step needed to levy the fiscal year 21-22 assessments. Staff recommendation is to open the public hearing, hear any comments, then take action to confirm the diagrams and assessments and to levy the fiscal year 21-22 assessments for districts 9801, 9802, and 0301. And Regina and I are here to answer any questions.
Thank you, Leslie. Before I open up the public hearing, is there any questions from council members?
Not for me.
Hearing none. Public hearing is open. Anybody wishing to comment on this? Anybody running up to the podium? Any hands up?
I do not have any raised hands.
All right, then I'll close the public hearing and entertain any motions.
So I take it we have to take these one at a time as we did last meeting. Is that correct, Counselor?
Yes, please.
All right, with that in mind, then I move that we adopt the resolution to confirm the diagram and assessment and to levy the fiscal year 21-22 assessments for Landscape Maintenance Assessment District number 9801, which is the Stock Village units numbers 1 and 2.
Second.
Motion by Bruin, second by Middleton. Please call the roll, Madam Clerk.
Councilmember Bruins.
Aye.
Councilmember Daniels is absent. Councilmember Schaefer.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Middleton.
Aye.
And Mayor Miller.
Yes.
And then I move that we adopt the resolution of the City Council of the City of Citrus Heights, California, to confirm the diagram and assessment at the levy fiscal year 2021-22 assessments for landscape maintenance assessment district number 9802, which is Zone 1, Sorensen Ranch, Zone 2, Autumnwood, and Zone 3, Mariposa Creek.
Second.
All right, motion by Bruin, second by Middleton. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Bruins.
Aye.
Councilmember Daniels is absent. Councilmember Schaefer.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Middleton.
Aye.
Mayor Miller.
Aye.
I'll take
And then
the
I'll
third
take-
one, Jeannie.
You want to do it?
Sure. Thank you. All right. I move that the resolution of the Citrus Heights City Council of Citrus Heights, California, to confirm the diagram assessment and levy the fiscal year 2021-2022 assessments for landscape maintenance assessment district number 303-01, zones 1, 2, and 3.
Second.
Okay, motion by Schaefer, second by Bruins. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Bruins.
Aye.
Councilmember Daniels is absent. Councilmember Schaefer.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Middleton.
Aye.
Mayor Miller.
Yes. Next, we have another public hearing.
The next public hearing, number 8, the subject is Landscape Maintenance Assessment Districts 9701, Zones 1, 2, 3, and 4, levy of fiscal year 21-22 assessments. The recommendation is to open the public hearing for the assessments and adopt a resolution to confirm the diagram and assessment and to levy fiscal year 21-22 assessments for Landscape Maintenance Assessment District 9701.
Good evening again, Mayor and Council. Similar to the last item, this is the second and final step in the process to levy the fiscal year 21-22 assessments for the Landscape Assessment District 9701, Zones 1, 2, 3, and 4. Staff recommends to open the public hearing, hear any comments, and then take action to confirm the diagrams and assessments for this assessment district.
Thank you. No questions? I will open the public hearing. Anyone here that wishes to speak? Anybody raising their hands?
No.
Then I will close the public hearing.
Okay, I move that we adopt resolution number 2021, which is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Citrus Heights, California, to confirm the diagram and assessment and to levy fiscal year 2021 and 22 assessments for the Citrus Heights Lighting Assessment District.
Second.
Motion by Bruin, second by Middleton. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Bruins.
Aye.
Councilmember Daniels is absent. Councilmember Schaefer.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Middleton.
Aye.
And Mayor Miller.
Yes. Carries. Next item, please.
Next item is public hearing number 9, the Citrus Heights Lighting Assessment District levy of fiscal year 21-22 assessments. The recommendation is to hold a public hearing and adopt a resolution to confirm the diagram and assessment and to levy fiscal year 21-22 assessments for the Citrus Heights Lighting Assessment District.
Good evening, Council and Mayor. Hunter Young with the Department of General Services. A pleasure to be with you this evening. In similar fashion to the items recently presented to you, each year the city is required to make an update to the assessments as relates to the Citrus Heights Lighting District. The Lighting District is an assessment district that is a citywide district that covers over 4,700 lights, street lights and safety lighting, and is certainly a benefit to the city and its residents. At your last meeting, the council did move forward with adoption of 2 resolutions related to initiating the meeting and the public meeting that we are, or public hearing that we are here for tonight. And the second is to set forth the intention to levy the assessment. And so before you tonight, we have a recommendation to open the public hearing, receive any feedback, and afterwards we would request that the council adopt and confirm the diagram with the assessment, as well as levy the fiscal year 21-22 assessments for the lighting district.
All right. Thank you, Hunter. No questions. I'm going to open the public hearing. Do we have any raised hands? I don't see anybody here in person wishing to speak.
No, I do not have any raised hands.
Okay, thank you. Then I will close the public hearing and entertain a motion or comments.
We'll make the motion.
All right.
Adopt resolution number 2021, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Citrus Heights, California, to confirm the diagram and assessments and to levy the fiscal year 2021-2022 assessments for the Citrus Heights Lighting Assessment District.
I will second that.
All right. Motion by Schaefer, seconded by Bruins. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Bruins.
Aye.
Councilmember Daniels is absent. Councilmember Schaefer.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Middleton.
Aye.
Mayor Miller.
Yes. Does it for the public hearings. On to regular calendar, please.
Next item is regular calendar, item number 10. The subject is approval of local road safety plan 5475. The recommendation is to adopt a resolution approving the Citrus Heights Local Roadway Safety Plan project.
Thank you, Amy. And Robert, feel free to start sharing your screen. Good evening, Mayor and council members. Mary Poole and Leslie Bloomquist with General Services here, along with the Kimley Horn Traffic Engineering Consultant Team, Robert Paderna and Molly O'Brien, who are also certified road safety professionals. In just a moment, Molly and Robert will walk you through the recently completed local roadway safety plan. In addition to myself, Leslie, and the consultant team, I would like to acknowledge that a number of city staff were also heavily involved in the process. I would particularly like to recognize the participation of Citrus Heights Police Department Lieutenant Jason Baldwin, Corporal Anthony Boley, Master Sergeant Janet Schaefer, and also Supervising Fire Inspector Diana Schmidt of Sac Metro Fire, all of whom were critical partners on our stakeholder team. I'm now going to turn this presentation over to Molly and Robert to provide us with a summary of the program. At the end of the presentation, we have some time for questions, and then we will ask the City Council to formally approve the local roadway safety plan for Citrus Heights. And I'll turn it over to you now, Molly.
Thank you, Mary. Tonight, we're going to cover in our presentation the LRSP Local Road Safety Plan background. We'll go over the project timeline. We'll talk about the collision data analysis. We'll discuss any key findings and then follow up with next steps for the LRSP. A local road safety plan is a means for providing local road owners with the opportunity to address unique highway safety needs in their jurisdictions while contributing to the success of the state's strategic highway safety plan. The process of preparing a local road safety plan creates a framework to systemically identify and analyze safety problems and recommend safety improvements. Preparing an LRSP facilitates the development of local agency partnerships and collaboration between safety stakeholders, such as engineering, enforcement, and emergency responders throughout the process. Recently, the city adopted an MMTSP, which is different than a local road safety plan. That is a process focused on neighborhood streets, whereas the local road safety plan analyzes all streets within the city, but its focus is really on areas with higher than expected collisions, which tend to be arterials and signalized intersections, in order to be competitive for highway safety improvement funding. Citrus Heights received a highway safety improvement program grant to complete their local road safety plan. And then there was a 10% match by the city. The local road safety plan identifies potential locations that could be good candidates for HSIP funding over the next funding cycle. Additionally, when the next funding cycle comes out in spring of 2022, agencies will be required to have a local road safety plan or an equivalent document for the agency to be able to apply for the safety funding. We began the project back in October of 2020. In the early phases of the project, we worked on data collection and collision data analysis. We then prepared tech memos and started to receive feedback from our stakeholder committee. We also did field reviews with the stakeholder committee and developed countermeasures for various locations, and had stakeholder review of the draft local road safety plan. And then tonight we're here today to get final approval of the local road safety plan. As I mentioned, we started the study back in 2020. So we utilized crash data from 2015 to 2019. The local road safety plans generally use 5 years of crash data, and you use complete calendar years for that crash data. When we look at crash data, collision data is reported in what's called CABCO format, and that is a format that the National Safety Council has defined, where the crashes are categorized by the law enforcement officer from a K being a fatality, all the way down to an O being a property damage only crash. Some of the key collision findings of note are almost 90% of the collisions are at intersections, and that's generally split half and half between signalized and unsignalized intersections within the city. Speeding is the highest cause of collisions, and there's additional details of the collision analysis included in the report in backup material. As part of the project, we also developed a toolbox of countermeasures with input from the city and the stakeholders. These countermeasures covered engineering type countermeasures, and we looked at national research as well as California and other countermeasures that are proven safety countermeasures. We also covered non-infrastructure countermeasures, looking at national guidance in order to develop those. One of the things that's really great is that a lot of these countermeasures are things that Citrus Heights is already doing. You'll see in the upper right-hand corner of this slide, we have a stop sign, and this is a before and after photo where a red retroreflective post was added to the stop sign to improve visibility. So a very low cost improvement, and these are the types of improvements that we're looking at for projects within the city. You'll also notice in the lower right-hand corner a traffic signal, and they've been adding retroreflective borders to the traffic signals. That actually has a 15% reduction in signalized intersection crashes. And as you'll notice, these are going up actually throughout the city. Now I'm going to turn it over to Robert to talk about the improvements at a variety of locations. And we focused on a variety of different locations as part of the project so that we could address various types of crashes and conditions that we saw within the collision data analysis on the roadway network.
Thanks, Molly. Wanted to take this opportunity to highlight specific safety countermeasures that were identified at select priority locations, as Molly had alluded to in the previous slide. The first one being at the intersection of Greenback and San Juan Avenue, where the safety countermeasures at this busy signalized intersection include yellow retroreflective backplates, as shown in the photo in the prior slide, which enhances visibility. Leading pedestrian interval, or LPI, which gives pedestrians a head start for crossing the intersection and improves pedestrian visibility. Green bike lane pavement markings, advanced stop bars, which provide a buffer between pedestrians and vehicles at signalized intersections, and signal hardware upgrades, which would allow for additional signal head placement on the signal poles. There's another intersection down the road along Greenback at the intersection with Mariposa Avenue. And this intersection, we identified similar set of intersection safety countermeasures. This segment is on Butternut Drive between Villa View Drive and Roseville Road. And at this particular intersection segment was shown to have higher crash frequency than other similar facilities in the city. We actually had the opportunity to perform a field visit with city staff and stakeholders and observe non-compliance issues with stop signs. And those are the observations we made in identification of improvements that are shown in concept in the exhibit on the left. Now this concept drawing presents an interim solution, which include upgrade of pavement markings, raised delineators, pedestrian and ADA ramp upgrades, retroreflective strips on stop sign posts. And these can be implemented as part of a phased approach where the city would seek HSIP funding to construct more permanent solutions, such as a raised median And also another improvement that was identified over to the right, off to the right-hand side of this photo would be a mini roundabout at the intersection of Villaview and Butternut. Now, I did want to note that the Roseville Road at Butternut intersection off to the left here is a shared facility with Sacramento County, so that would require a city-county partnership. Moving on to the next location, this is on Van Maren Lane between Auburn Boulevard and Kittery Lane. And that's shown, the entire segment is shown on the right-hand side here. This happens to be a photo looking north at right about here where the star is. And along this segment, we had identified an opportunity to implement a road diet, so go down from 4 lanes as it currently stands, with 2 lanes in the southbound direction, the center 2A left turn lane, and a single northbound lane, and utilize that extra pavement to provide enhanced bike facilities such as buffered bike lanes. Also along this segment, we've identified street lighting upgrades to improve safety. Now, shifting gears a little bit, we also identified systemic improvements that could be applied throughout the city as a means for implementing safety countermeasures in a proactive manner. And there's 2 buckets that I wanted to detail here. Signalized intersections, and you see listed here are generally the same set of improvements that were identified at the greenback lane signals. At unsignalized intersections, we've identified installation and upgrade of intersection warning signage, retroreflective strips on stop sign posts, intersection lighting upgrades to enhance safety lighting at intersections, and pavement marking upgrades as well. So in summary, the LRSP, Local Road Safety Plan, was developed to identify local safety needs with input from city staff and stakeholders. We use a data-driven approach to identify priority locations for HSIP eligible projects. And the plan is designed to be continually updated to address the changing safety priorities and needs within the city. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Mary.
Thank you, Robert. And so the next steps would be for the City Council to formally approve the LRSP, and then staff would be working to package up application or applications for the next call for project, which is tentatively scheduled for the spring of 2022. And that concludes the presentation form, and we're happy to respond to any questions. The staff recommendation and motion are before you for your consideration.
Thank you, Mary, Molly, and Robert. Questions?
Yeah, I have one,
Jeannie?
if I may. So I am a big fan of roundabouts. I'll just go on the record saying that. However, in Area 1, we have some very small, older roundabouts that we put in right after we became a city, which I still kind of scratch my head as to why they were designed that way, because they're 4-way stops. And that kind of defeats, well, it very much defeats, I believe, the whole intention of a roundabout, which is to keep traffic flowing. So I just want to make sure that the one at Butternut and Villaview, as a smaller roundabout, is going to enhance the flow of traffic, not require it to be a 4-way stop. And in addition to that, is engineered so that there's enough room for, cars to get through. We don't have the problems we had at Woodmore Oaks, which was a whole separate issue. So maybe you could speak just a little bit more about that for my comfort. Thank you.
I think Leslie will take that one.
Sure. Yeah, I agree. The other roundabouts as designed in Neighborhood 1 do not act in the fashion that we're really going for at Yeah, it is Butternut and Villaview.
Yeah.
This one would be more similar to the one on, is it Spicer and Sperry, the one in the neighborhood over there, where it is more of a traditional roundabout. It would be yield controlled on all 4, and then really complement the turn in and out of Roseville Road, help facilitate sight distance, and kind of complement the improvements at that intersection as well. So that's the intent and the goal. Although we haven't done the conceptual layout of it, I'm pretty confident that that will work there, and we'll be looking at that as part of this improvement.
Great, thank you, Leslie.
Any other questions? All right, well, I
Great.
do not have any.
Well, then I would be happy to move this resolution of the City Council of the City of Citrus Heights to approve the Citrus Heights Local Roadway Safety Plan, LRSP, project number 10-20-002.
Second.
Motion by Bruin, second by Middleton. Amy, please call the roll.
Councilmember Bruins,
Aye.
Councilmember Daniels is absent. Councilmember Schaefer,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Middleton,
Aye.
Mayor Miller.
Aye. Now on to the next item, please.
Next item is the regular calendar, item number 11. The subject is extension of urgency ordinance for fireworks regulation and enforcement. The recommendation is to adopt an extension of urgency ordinance of the City of Citrus Heights, amending Chapter 38 of the Citrus Heights Code relating to fireworks.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. This is an extension of the ordinance that was already passed by your council on June 24th. So nothing has changed there, but the law requires us to do this if we want it to keep going forward. So I've been working in collaboration with the police department, in particular, Lieutenant Gehring and Commander Russo. So just as a reminder for the council, the key additions that the urgency ordinance put into place is the social host liability, right? That so made it easier for enforcement. You didn't have to see who actually launched the firework, the illegal firework, to cite them. We increased the violation amounts, made some additions or some modifications to the use restriction in terms of time for the fireworks. And also at the council's direction at the meeting, we added a flyer that was posted on each of the stands where people were selling fireworks, the vendor stands, that described these changes for members of the public as they would purchase their fireworks. So what we have tonight is just the extension from the action from June 24th. The government code allows that the original ordinance, urgency ordinance, is only good for 45 days, which means it would expire on August 9th, if not extended by this council. It does require a 4/5 vote, and with Councilmember Daniels not present, that means we need a 4 out of 4 vote for this thing to be extended. We're looking for it to be extended for 10 months and 15 days. Seems like an odd amount of time, but that is what the statute provides. But what'll probably happen is within that time frame, the plan is to bring back to the city council a non-urgency ordinance to permanently change the municipal code with regard to this. So this urgency ordinance would hopefully be moot in a matter of months as a regular ordinance takes its place. So as staff are recommending that that the council extend the urgency ordinance for that time frame and pass the resolution that's attached to this item. If there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them, or Lieutenant Gehring is also available if you have questions from the police department. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. Any questions, comments? Mr. Schaefer?
Thanks, Ryan. Lieutenant Gehring, do we have any updated information as far as the 16 violations that were turned over to code enforcement? What was the result of those?
Yes, thank you. As it stands right now, it appears that the 16 violations, we were able to confirm a total of 9. So we're moving forward with 9 citations, and that was as of earlier this week.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
And Mayor, I do have one raised hand.
Oh, thanks for reminding me. Yeah. Let's go ahead and take the public comment on this item.
And Rick Hodgkins, you can go ahead and unmute yourself to speak.
Order. Zoom webinar.
Can you hear me?
Tools. Lower hand button.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you and a few other things.
I'm sorry, my computer was talking.
Very good.
So
we can hear you now.
There we go. All right. First off, the reason why, it's obvious that the reason why we have fireworks that are now illegal in the state of California is because some deadbeat parents years ago were not paying attention to their kids. I have 2 deadbeat parents in my family. One's a younger sister. One is a cousin on my dad's side of the family. So I definitely can speak for them. And second, I reluctantly rise in support of this also because the least I would support is a curfew to tell people to stop shooting off all fireworks at and past 10 o'clock at night. So thank you.
Is that it, Rick? We lost him.
He muted himself, so I believe that was his comments.
All right, thank you for your comments, Mr. Hudkins. Any other?
I do not see any other raised hands.
If there's no other questions or comments, please, I'd entertain a motion.
Well, I move that we adopt this ordinance to extend our urgency ordinance of the City of Citrus Heights, amending Chapter 38 of the Citrus Heights Code relating to fireworks to the maximum time frame, as our Attorney Jones mentioned. Was it?
Second.
Motion by Bruin, seconded by Schaefer. Okay, Madam Clerk, please call a roll.
Councilmember Bruins.
Aye.
Councilmember Daniels is absent. Councilmember Schaefer.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Middleton.
Aye.
And Mayor Miller.
Yes.
Next item is department reports, and there are none. The next item is city manager items.
Yes, briefly. Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. I'm Chris Boyd, the interim city manager. 2 things. First of all, staff has worked the schedule on the agenda at this point to allow for us to not have a city council meeting in the second meeting of August and the second meeting of September. If the council is okay with that, we'll move forward and formalize that. And the second matter I just wanted to make a brief report on is the city managers in Sacramento County heard from the county health officer today, Dr. Katsiri. She reported a number of things, but just a couple of highlights I just wanted to pass along. What she says is with regard to COVID-19, consistent with national and state trends, the COVID-19 case rate in Sacramento County has increased dramatically in recent weeks. She says, for perspective, if the blueprint for a safer economy were still in place, Sacramento County would be in the purple, or the most restrictive tier today. This increase can be attributed, she says, to reduced mitigation measures like distancing and masks, the Delta variant, and large numbers of residents who are not yet fully vaccinated. She says due to the aforementioned increases, she says she's issued a recommendation that everyone wear face coverings indoors in settings where vaccination verification is not required and the vaccination status of others is unknown. She went on to provide quite a bit more information around guidance for schools and other things, but did want to highlight that as well. So Mayor, with that, that's all I have. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next item, please.
Next item is items requested by council members or future agenda items.
None, anybody?
Not me.
All right, well then I guess the next thing to do is adjourn the meeting. Thank you, everybody, and have a good evening.